Hello.
Hello.
Hi everyone, my name is Jess and today I'm going to be going through a few of my recent reads for you. I haven't made a video in a hot minute and it's basically just because I suck. I'm not going to go into all that, but yes, there's a lot of catching up to do in terms of what I've been reading. I always talk way too much in these videos. So, hi. It's June now. How are you? Hope you're having a great start to the summer. In England it's awful. It's raining every day and it's really cold, so that's fun. The first book that I read recently, although it's not recent anymore, was Chasing the Stars by Mallory Blackman. This is apparently a sci-fi YA retelling of Othello. I've never read Othello, don't hold me to that. It's basically about these twins that are abandoned on a spaceship traveling without sort of going anywhere. They're trying to get back to Earth, I think. Basically a space virus wiped out the whole of their ship, their parents, their friends, family, everything gone, and they are just trying to get back to Earth. On their way back to Earth they come across this colony of people that are miners on this other planet and they're being attacked, so they save all of them onto their ship. And the main character called Olivia and the main guy from this other colony of people, can't remember his name, Nathan, they basically fall in love and it's a whole thing. I gave Chasing the Stars literally 1 star. I was not chasing any stars. I was chasing to find more good things to say about this, but it's so bad. This is honestly one of the books that I've read. I sometimes think I'm too lenient with books. I give quite high ratings. I struggle to critically read a lot of the time. But this was so easy to just shit on. It's so bad. The writing is bad. The plot is bad. The characters are horrific. The insta-love was on another level. Just insane. The plot twist was everything about it was just not great. I can't remember much because I read it so long ago, but honestly, don't read this book. Next up, we have something that everyone and their mother has read already, but after Chasing the Stars I decided I needed something actually good. So I read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Everyone knows about this book. If you don't, it is about this famous Hollywood starlet from the 50s. She's a very glamorous woman called Evelyn Hugo, and she's quite old now, and she hires a sort of unknown journalist to write her life story and says, you can publish it when I die. Whenever that is. We literally just hear her whole life story about the 7 people that she's married, and the real question of who her one true love was. And I gave it 5 out of 5. Literally, you all know this. I thought this was going to be overhyped and I was going to be a little bit disappointed because everyone has been raving about it, but no, it lives up to everything. I love this book. It made me feel so much. The ending, I don't think I predicted it, I can't remember, but I don't think I predicted the kind of shock ending. It felt slightly predictable, but I also not really, I don't know, it was just great. I love this book, you should definitely read it. 5 out of 5. The next book that I read, I don't actually have with me because it was the first audiobook that I ever listened to. I listened to the Cheerleaders by Cara Thomas. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the experience of listening to an audiobook. I didn't think I would, but I did. I made it through. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. It was my first ever sort of thriller mystery YA book as well. I'm not really into that normally, but so I don't know a lot of the tropes and stuff. I'm not really used to it. It kind of was a little bit predictable at times. I liked the flashbacks in the story. I didn't even explain what Cheerleaders is about. Shit, okay. So Cheerleaders is about this town where 5 years ago or something, 5 of the town, the high school's cheerleading team died suddenly through multiple different ways, if that makes sense. And then it follows the sister of the girl that committed suicide 5 years later, trying to figure out what happened to lead up to her sister committing suicide. And it was fine. Yeah, it was okay. It was a good, simple sort of style of a story for me to follow listening to the audiobook. So if you're looking to get into audiobooks, I would recommend something simple but also like you're not going to get bored of like that, like a mystery where you have to wait till the end. The next book I read was also another audiobook, and this one was The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. This follows, oh god, I can't even remember. I can't even remember what it's about. It literally was, I gave it a 3 out of 5. It was quite boring and forgettable, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of Becky Albertalli stuff I find, you know, it's very contemporary, it's very cutesy and like kind of romantic and stuff, which is great, it's fun, it's nice, but I find it quite cringy at times, and so like, especially references to pop culture, I don't know why, but every time she references like Tumblr or Harry Potter or something, I just cringe, like I don't like it. So that was my problem with it, but other than that, it was like a cute, fun story that I think if you're looking for like a fun, contemporary, easy read, then it's pretty simple. The next book that I read recently was Archenemies by Marissa Meyer. If you don't know, this is the sequel to Renegades by Marissa Meyer. It is part of a trilogy the next one's coming out, I think the end of this year, I think. If you don't know, this is going to be a long synopsis, but the Renegades series is about this future that where there are prodigies who have special powers, they're part of society, and there was this huge uprising where prodigies sort of became evil and tried to destroy everything, I think, and then this other group of prodigies called the Renegades saved the normal people, and they're now in power and they look after everyone, kind of like a police force and a government all put together. And it's about a young girl who is an anarchist, which is the bad guys that tried to take over all those years ago, who have now been defeated. Is about her trying to gain revenge on the Renegades for killing her uncle, who was like the big bad guy, and she infiltrates the Renegades by becoming part of them. And also it follows the son of the 2 biggest renegades, like the most powerful ones, called Adrian, and he has like this, what's the word? He's a like vigilante superhero as well as the superhero that he is for his family and his friends. Like I said, it's confusing, but I loved Archenemies. I don't know if I loved it as much as Renegades. I think it was a bit slow sometimes, and like when I stopped reading it, I would be like, what actually just happened? This whole series, like the whole idea is so original and it's so cool and it's done so well. Like the chapters are brilliant, what am I on about? Like their style is great. I love Marissa Meyer's writing, and like there's a lot of action scenes that normally I wouldn't get along with, but I do, and I really like it. If you like adventure and politics and a little bit of romance, like the slowest slow burn romance you've ever seen in your whole entire freaking life, read the series thing. The next book that I read recently was On the Come Up by Angie Thomas. If you don't know, Angie Thomas is the person that wrote The Hate You Give, which is like a huge story, everybody knows about it. On the Come Up follows Bree, who is a young black girl living in, I think, the same kind of area as Star from The Hate You Give. Kind of like a working class sort of background that is really African American. Like the population of the area that she lives in is really heavily African American, and it's about her family struggles. Her mum's an ex-drug addict, and her brother has given up going to college and being really successful to stay at home and like provide for them, and her like school life. And at the beginning of the book, she gets what's the word, like she gets like pinned to the ground by a school security officer for basically not a good reason at all. And it's about sort of her getting over that, and she's a rapper, so she wants to become a big rapper like her dad, who has now passed away, and it's about her trying to make her rap career happen, and her like hit song that comes out, and it's good. It's good. I gave On the Come Up a 4 out of 5 stars. I did get kind of bored with it a fair bit. I struggled to get through it at times. It's a different kind of story than what I'm used to though, and I do really appreciate reading a book like this that is so different from my own like experience in life, and seeing somebody else's experience, and even like a different personality. Like Brie is such a different kind of person than me, and sometimes I got annoyed at her for stuff that I just wouldn't have done. Like she can be very hot-headed, and react to things really quickly, and I was just like shaking my head being like, come on, like, don't do this, everyone's telling you not to do exactly this, so why are you doing it? But it was good for me to learn that obviously people are different, and like that's what makes a good character, is that I got annoyed at her because she's such a good complex character, if that makes sense. So Angie Thomas is really talented. She's a great author. She writes, I think, just the right story for the right time, and this was such a nice change from The Hate You Give, because it's not as dark, but it also handles a lot of different subject matter, which I really liked. The pacing sometimes felt off, and the romance in this I did not like. Like, the romance people were fine, but the situation where their romance comes to a head really just, yikes, I didn't like that at all. But that's, you know, that's just my opinion. The next series that I read, because I'm not going to talk about each book individually because that's going to take forever. The next series that I read was the Twilight Saga by Stephanie Meyer. Yeah, I did that. Rereading Twilight. I'm going to do a whole video about my reread of Twilight because it's been literally 10 years since I read it the first time, so I'm going to just talk about all of that in a different video, which I'll link down below once it's up. I got back into my Twilight phase. I regressed 10 years of my life, but I loved it. I mean, look at all these tabs I have to talk about. That's like in all of them. So I have a lot to say about the Twilight Saga, but you all know what it is. You all know the story. I'm not gonna pretend like I'm gonna review it for you now, because I'm not. I loved it. There are a lot of issues, I'll give you that. There are a lot of issues with this series, but I'm gonna talk about that in my other video. The last book that I have read recently, I was kind of waiting for Pride Month to read this book because I know that it's about a bisexual girl. It was All the Invisible Things by Orla Collins. I got this as a gift for my birthday from my friend Gabby, so thanks Gabby for that. It's about this girl called Vetty, who, when she was younger, she lived in London, and her like best friend was this guy called Pez, and they were like the closest of possible friends. Then her mum died, and unfortunately her and her family had to move away to Somerset to have a new kind of fresh start. And it's 4 years later, and they move back to London, and Vetty and Pez have not spoken very much at all since they moved. So it's about them rekindling their friendship. It's also about Vetty discovering more about her sexuality. She's a bisexual girl, and about her journey about coming out and figuring out who she likes and why, and how to, in the different ways, which I think is something this book did really well. It did well to explain that attraction, like for a lot of bisexual people, attraction to men and women or whoever is different. I think it did really well to explain that, and it did a lot, like, it was very relatable because it's set in England in like the modern day, so it was very relatable to me. Like, Vetty is going into sixth form, it's the summer before sixth form. Oh my god, Alice is back. Yeah, it was great. I gave it, I think, like a 4 out of 5, maybe a 3.5, because it was kind of boring at times, and it didn't have like humour to keep it going. It just was pretty boring. So, because my flatmate is back and I'm going to feel awkward, I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below if you want to see more of my bookish content and my Twilight video coming soon. Other than that, I hope you've had a great Pride Month so far, everyone, and let me know how you're doing in the comments, because I really like to know what you've been reading, how you are, what you're up to. And other than that, I will see you next time. Bye! Oh, you got me